welcome. I'm here with
Yuliya Baran from Lieberman Law Office.
thank you so much, Yuliya. I'm Sidrid Veselai with Guaranteed Rate. We're going to talk to you today about new construction. There's so much demand about new construction, single families and condos these days during the pandemic that we thought it would be a great topic to cover. So today we're going to talk about some of the benefits and also the cons, the pros and cons of owning a new construction home, and also some of the real-time things that we're seeing.
So we'll start with some of the benefits. So obviously the biggest benefit of it is you're getting a brand new home. So everything from the walls to the paint to the windows, the doors, which comes with low maintenance. So you don't need to, it's move-in ready. You're not doing anything. The biggest thing with a new construction being brand new, as your realtors might let you know, that after everything's signed and you're about to close on your property, you of course do a final walkthrough where you make a punch list item. So that punch list includes little things like if you walk through your home and there's a little touch-up paints that you need or some holes need to be filled in. It is brand new, so it is up to the buyer, I guess, to push it onto the builder or the seller to make sure that all of these items are completed. So the punch list is extremely crucial at the final walkthrough of your property prior to closing.
And a lot of times as these new constructions are being built, you can also negotiate on what's in this new construction.
Absolutely.
Prior to the final build out. One of the other benefits is most of these sellers will offer, or builders will offer you a home warranty. They don't have to, keep this in mind, they're not required to, or at least in Massachusetts. But most of them they do to give you that peace of mind. So we also see that as a benefit. One of the other benefits is modern floors and designs. We're all looking at like doing open floor spaces and new designs. So if you're in a new construction home, that's what you'll get. You don't need, if you're going to be saving money if you were going to own an old house that you're going to open it up and spend $50,000-$100,000 to create these new designs. You don't need to do that with a new construction home, and we see that as a big value add, and that's why the prices of new construction homes, that's one of the main reasons that they're higher.
I agree. And going back to the design and everything, the most important thing is making sure your specs or specifications are on target. So everything gets worked out between the buyer and the seller, and those specifications have to be attached to the purchase and sale agreement. I strongly suggest that, just because I always feel like if it's not in the purchase and sale agreement, there's a lot of wiggle room to walk away from something that wasn't agreed to. So if you're in a longer timeline, looking at 2-3 years of a home, which hopefully not, because it's a ridiculously a long time, those specifications should be set out in a separate exhibit attached to the purchase and sale. So in the event the seller all of a sudden forgets that they told you that they'll be putting in a oven of a certain type, but then they go back and tell you a lower quality oven, then you have something to go back to and say, look, the specifications include this, and this is what I need in the home. So kind of goes back to.
That's an awesome point. Let's talk a little about some of the cons, some of the negatives of owning a new construction home. I would say one of them is that you may be in a longer commute. A lot of times you may be moving further out from the city. You may have more land, but you may be finding yourself commuting longer. But knowing that most jobs now can be done from home, or there's so much more flexibility, I think people are also okay with commuting a little more. few days a week, or so it's a negative and a positive too.
I agree. Same thing with landscaping, kind of goes positive, the fact that you get brand new everything, fresh mulch, fresh flowers, fresh trees, bushes. If you are looking at a big development, obviously the builder's knocking everything down and then replanting. Now you're looking at trees taking forever to build, so your backyard may see that road now, but 6 years from now, obviously, it may fill up depending on what kind of trees are planted. And the grass, I mean, usually with the grass, one of the punch list items prior to the walkthrough that's already included with the brand new construction is that everything is seeded prior to the closing. So if you are closing in the winter time, then obviously the builder or his contractors will have to come back and reseed everything, make sure that that grass comes in nice and fresh for the spring.
One of the other things that is a major con is the pricing of the new construction homes. So you may want to look at a similarly a structured home, let's say from 30 years ago, and how much this new home is, and kind of like compare that this 2,000 square foot home is going to cost me $100,000 more than this older one. And is that really worth it for you?
So going back to the pricing, being in such a competitive market right now, people overpaying $50,000, $100,000 in some communities, which is beyond crazy. But now I feel like buyers are looking at, is it worth paying $40,000, $50,000 over asking for this price, for this house that is a 20-year-old home, where I can add, let's say, 20, 30,000 into my budget, which is where you come in, and get pre-approved for the brand new construction home. So I feel like It's like a give or take. If you can, and if there's wiggle room, then of course it might make sense to go the new construction route.
100%. And also if you're looking at having a home office or all these things that you maybe don't have with an older home layout, definitely new construction is huge these days, that you may have that additional space with a new construction. But keep in mind, one of the biggest things about new constructions is the build out. Make sure that you're working with a reputable developer, and that you know exactly how the process is going to work out. But one of the other cons about new construction is that you're going to have to wait for the build out to be completed. Let's talk a little about the process. For example, what are you seeing, let's say, with a new construction project? What are some of the things? Let's talk about home warranty.
Sure.
Some of the issues that can arise.
So I think one of the biggest things is these builders are on their own timeline, and that is kind of strange to a buyer who's like, what do you mean? It's going to take a year to build this. Builders are on their own timeline, and these buyers are asking, why do we have to lock everything in now when it's going to be completed in 2022, 2023? But from their perspective, they're looking at material, they're looking at costs on their end. They also might have construction loans that are on interest rates and so on. So they're looking at their prices now. So if they lock in the price now, they won't have to, they're thinking about, most likely, I'm not a builder, but most likely about inflation. If prices go up for their construction items down the road, then all of a sudden the $1 million home won't cost $1 million, but it will cost much more. So
exactly.
That's why their timeline is pretty much overnight. So they want that purchase and sale agreement signed as soon as possible, because now they know that they have the buyer locked in, they have the deposit in their account, and they can start ordering the material, and they know that this buyer is not going to walk away, because they make sure that they're protected in the purchase and sale agreement, not going to walk away for any type of reason.
That's such a good point. So builders will always want you to commit, or most of the times they're going to want you to commit to a purchase and sale agreement, which will mean that the borrower or the buyer will have to commit a lot of funds up front. It could be 5% of the purchase price, 10 or even 20. But for you as a borrower, as a buyer, you have to be mindful that if any situation changes, if your employment situation changes or your credit, now you may all of a sudden be in a different scenario. Or it could be that now you qualify at a interest rate of 2.75 or 3%, and in a year from now interest rates are at 5%. How is that going to impact you? So there is also a lot of unknowns for the buyer and the borrower, but I think a lot of these borrowers that are looking to commit to something like this, they have their finances in order, they know what they're committing to, and they are okay with taking this type of risk.
I agree, and this is why it's so crucial to talk to the attorney, the real estate agent, the loan officer, especially, to make sure that they, I guess, remind the buyer of what they should and should not be doing within that year stretch of between signing the agreement and the closing date. So going out and buying cars and everything else is probably not going to be beneficial, because you're dwindling down your savings and all of a sudden you're racking up your credit report and your credit score and everything else. So I think being mindful of the fact that the house is being built and I need to make sure that my financials are as similar as possible to today from a year from now, that is very crucial.
Yeah, definitely. And always have like a worst case scenario. You never want to lose your purchase and sale deposit. Obviously that's huge, but maybe have something that will help you, and that's where Yuliya will come in and have a strategy for you that may have some language that will protect you as a buyer. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all trying to get to the same end result for the builder and for the borrower. So you can always, talk things out, but obviously everything in the writing is what will count.
Absolutely. And also with some of these builders, I feel like there's not a lot of wiggle room. They send you something and from the attorney's point of view, they don't allow much changes or edits to the agreement. A lot of times they want the deposit to be non-refundable, just because, which is from their point of view, they're building a custom home specifically for this buyer. So if they build in, put in their effort and time, and then the buyer walks away,
yeah,
it's very hard to reset. Right. I'm sure they can find a buyer, but it's from their perspective. So also a lot of times the change orders or the actual additions and changes down the road that the buyer will have to pay out of pocket in addition to the purchase price or the loan amount, those are also non-refundable, and sometimes the builders want to use that money instead of putting it in an escrow. So that's something the buyer has to kind of talk through with the attorney so they understand. So the $40,000 check that you're writing is not going to sit somewhere that you can give back in case you get denied financing. That money might, according to the purchase and sale, have to go to the builder to be used for the supplies and everything. So I think it is extremely crucial to understand the purchase and sale and what you're signing and what the repercussions are of you all of a sudden waking up on Sunday morning and deciding that you're in over your head. So
yeah, that's your worst case scenario. Hey, let's talk a little bit about home warranty. That's usually part of, the builder will offer it, the developer will offer it, but they're not always required to. What are some of the issues that you've seen?
So there is an assumption that with a new construction, the builder has to offer 1 year builder's warranty. However, that assumption is incorrect, and you have to go back to the builder and ask for it pretty much. So it has to be included as part of the purchase and sale. Well, as part of the offer, you have to negotiate for it prior to purchase and sale, which is then put into the purchase and sale. So this builder's warranties, if the builder will give it to you, it's a 1-year warranty that you can call up the builder and see if they will fix X, Y, and Z, whatever is listed in this warranty. However, if there is no warranty, then now you're looking at, I guess, the litigation route in case something goes wrong. So there is something called implied warranty of habitability that exists on all new construction homes. So if you are given a new construction home, the idea is that it's safe and habitable, or else if there's in the event there's anything wrong with it, the builder can be responsible for it. But that stuff doesn't just happen over a phone call. You have to go to court, you have to fight for it. You're talking about money out of your own pocket. So I think those things are very crucial to understand what the builder is giving you and what is going to be included in the purchase and sale, because you don't want to come a month before closing and you all of a sudden realize that the warranty is not included when you thought it was.
Wow. That's such good, valuable information. One other scenario that I've had is that the buyer was buying a new construction condo, and on his side of his house, he found a cracking in the foundation, and he did go back to the developer. He did have a home warranty, but I would say even though you're buying a brand new construction, you still should have an inspection done on this property. Even though you have a purchase and sale agreement signed, you may now face issues with the lender if the lender has an issue with the appraisal. So if you identify these things up front, you can address them, the attorney can address them, and you can address them directly with the developer.
I agree. And one question for you is, let's say the buyer signs a purchase and sale agreement today, their house is going to be built January of 2022. When should they start the loan process?
So I think a realistic timeline to start the loan process would be within 90 days. So that would give a chance for the appraiser to go out there. And let's say if the property is not fully completed, it's let's say 90% completed and only landscaping is not finished, the appraisal may accept the condition of the property as is. But if it's not completed, it will give the appraiser enough time to go back into the property and revisit any things that are not completed or that are due. So I would say a good timeline is 90 days. I would say with condos, it's a little different. They are investor specific, usually to Fannie or Freddie Mac or any direct lender that you're going to. So make sure that you ask your lender if it is a condo, how are the implications, especially on like big condominium projects with let's say 30, 50, 100 units. Because the developer may have to convey or have 50% of those units, for example, under agreement before the lender can offer any financing. So definitely ask your lender for condos.
And for condos, lenders and attorneys prior to closing will require the recorded condominium documents, the plans and everything, which again goes back to kind of the floor plans and design. So it's very encouraged to review the condo documents prior to them being recorded. So it is your attorney's part to do so, but I always say you're the one buying the property, so you should know what you are getting yourself into. So it is important for the buyer/borrower to also review these. Make sure that if you are being told that you're receiving a parking spot, make sure that parking spot is included. If you're buying a 1,200 square foot unit, the plans don't reflect 1,800.
So educate yourself prior to starting the process, especially for a new construction. It's exciting getting into a new construction home, but there's so many variables that go into it. I mean, home buying in general, there's so many
Right.
variables, but new construction, it's kind of a whole different game. And that's why here, I mean, me and Yuliya created this video to provide as much value and education, for someone that is buying a new project, new real estate, new construction. And even if you're a realtor, I think you should find this video helpful as well.
Absolutely. I feel like all the information comes from the agent, the loan officer, the attorney. So it is our job to educate these new homeowners. So if we don't know the information, or we think one thing but the reality is different, then it kind of stems from us, because we now represent this client who's relying on us. So it is definitely important for everybody to be on the same page, which kind of goes back to what I always say. The realtor, the attorney, the loan officer are a team. There's no person that's here and no person that's there. We all work together to represent one mutual client, to get them to the closing table successfully and without any issues, even though that's kind of impossible nowadays. But yeah, it is on us, all of us working together. And I think as long as, like you said, everybody's educated and those questions are asked, never assume that you know something, rather.
Exactly. And I think it's crucial to have a team of trusted professional. It helps a lot having worked with the other person, because I can just pick up my phone and call Yuliya directly, or the realtor, or the developer. So it's always crucial you know who you're working with. And even if someone doesn't know, I think it's definitely important to introduce everyone up front.
I agree.
So that you know who everyone is working with.
Absolutely.
Great. So we hope you have enjoyed this. It was really fun for us doing this. This was great.
It was.
Thank you, Yuliya.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we will hopefully do more of these in the future to provide more value and education for you guys.
And let us know if you have any questions. You know where to reach us.
Thank you.